Howdy everyone, this is Tricia and welcome to my channel. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that. Isn't that cute? Isn't that cute? I wish I had videotaped in there. Alright everyone, today I'm going to be making an Easter corsage and a wrist corsage. This video is in response to my previous video from last week where I showed you how to make a corsage the simple way, and I got some nice feedback. I got a special request. Actually, that video was a special request for Jill. Jill, you know who you are. I'm not even going to dare say your last name because I'm going to butcher it, but yes, that was a special request from Jill, so I went ahead and I did that video for her. I do have some wall floral decor that I want to do, and I will start it next Tuesday. I wanted to start it this Tuesday, but I really think it was really important because prom is coming up, and you know, some of you also want to make these corsages for Easter, and I thought, you know what, I need to do this now and put those in and just fit them in nicely for y'all. I think that other video that I did for the corsage came out on a Friday, and I could certainly have put this on a Friday, but I also have people asking, you know, like Velia. I'm sorry, Velia, I will go back to making food videos. They're asking me if I'm going to do recipes again, and yes, I am. I just said I've been getting some requests, and I really wanted to get those in. They're great ideas, and they're great requests. So again, if any of y'all have a request, I do have my thetriciatxlady at gmail.com. It is on my description box. If you want to send me an email and a special request, or if you want to go ahead and put it in the comments, it's fine. I'm trying to keep up as much as I can with the comments. I'm not like overwhelmed with them. It's not that. It's just, you know, things are going on and I forget, oh my gosh, I got to respond to the comments. Anyhow, long story short, I did have a request from Annette Cruz, who saw the corsage video, and she was asking, she was saying thank you for the tutorial. She's got her daughter's prom coming up, I guess in May. So I thought, well, geez, for proms, I actually like to create a wrist corsage because, you know, you can't really pin a regular corsage on the dresses that these girls are wearing now. I really don't know what your girl is wearing, Annette. I don't mean to I don't mean to assume or judge or anything like that. I just know that a lot of the dresses, because my mother does take care of creating prom dresses and also doing adjustments and things like that to prom dresses, which I helped her with for quite a while. So I am aware that the dresses are hard to pin corsages on, and so a lot of times the boys are pinning them on. And you know, you don't want boys near your girls, you know, parts. So what I do is I like to create a wrist corsage. It's also much more comfortable for the young lady to wear a wrist corsage. So I wanted to go ahead and share this for Miss Annette. She didn't request it. I just saw her comment and I thought, you know what, I'm going to do something for you. And so I also noticed that Miss Jill was thanking me in this one for having, you know, done the video for her. And she also mentioned that her daughter's, I believe I don't know if it's a senior prom or that was Annette. Annette, I think, was the one who mentioned it was a senior prom. Okay, so Jill also said that her daughter's prom is coming up, and it's coming up this weekend. So that's the other reason why I also did not put this video for Friday. I decided to do it on this day, Tuesday. And look, y'all are looking at all these little flowers in front of you. And sorry about this long introduction, but I really wanted to you know, shout out to these Annette and to Jill, and also to Barb. And Barb is asking, she's also thanking me for the tutorial. She wanted to know if I could do something in an Easter theme. So I'm going to go ahead and do an Easter theme corsage, and then I'm going to be doing a little wrist corsage. So this is my flowers that I have chosen. I've chosen some carnations and some little filler flowers, and I've got some ribbons here. I've also got a little bunny right here, and these two little Easter eggs that I'm going to incorporate into that particular corsage. I am going to be making this wrist corsage as for a formal, and of course yellow is not exactly, you know, the color that girls are choosing for their formals, but I chose this because since I'm going to go ahead and create a corsage now, I figured I could easily use it as an Easter corsage. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a wrist corsage, and for that I will need, of course, some flowers. I've got some ribbons, And then I've got this little contraption here. This is an elastic. This goes on the wrist, and it's got this little metal part on it, and this is where you attach the corsage onto so that it will go onto the wrist. So these are found in the pretty much in the floral and wedding sections of your craft stores like Hobby Lobby, Michael's, and so forth. So that is where I would go looking for them, unless you have a specialty craft store. I have a few of them nearby in the towns nearby, so I usually go to them and I buy them in bulk. But I only had 2 left, and I was killing myself because I said I would do a wrist corsage and then I couldn't find them, and then I ended up finding them and I only had 2 left. Well, there you go. Okay, so also to my little wrist corsage, because it's, you know, for a formal, I'm going to be using these little pearl sprays. There you go. These are from Wilton, and they're usually in the cake decorating aisle. Some of these are also in the wedding aisle, and this is what they look like. So if you've seen them, you'll know that these can also be incorporated into a corsage. So let me go ahead and talk about the other supplies and tools that you will need to create these 2 corsages. All right, so of course you're going to be needing some corsage pins. Those are necessary for the regular corsage. You won't need them for the wrist corsage. You're going to need a glue gun. In my case, because I'm going to be using these legs, we're going to be using a glue gun, so we need some glue sticks also for that. I've got wires here, and I've got a 22 gauge wire here, and this is a 24 gauge floral wire. You can use either one of those. I will be needing some greenery tape or floral tape, and it is a green tape, and or you can use white if you prefer. I'm going to be using some scissors, my wire cutters. These are by Nipix. Some of you have asked, where are those wire cutters from? Well, these were a gift to me from Michael's when I worked there for my production and sales. So, but I have found similar, very, very similar, almost exact to these on Amazon, so you can find them there. And then I'm also going to be using these little needle nose pliers, and I'll show you why I need those. And so there you go. Those are your supplies and tools to create the corsages. Let's get to crafting. Okay, so I've gone ahead and I've prepared all of my stems, my floral stems and my leaves ahead of time so that I can go ahead and save some time on the video. If you saw my previous video, you'll know what I'm talking about when I'm doing this. Otherwise, I will go ahead and put the link down below so that you can take a look at that. It's going to be a little more detailed as to the preparation of each item. But I've gone ahead and I've wrapped my stems in a greenery tape, this greenery tape right here. And I've also, you know, all my little flowers, and I've also prepared some leaves. So let me show you how I went ahead and I prepared these particular leaves, because I will be doing these different from the previous video where I actually put them on wire. And this time I'm actually putting them on the pieces of stem from the flowers where I've cut the length. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. I've taken off all the leaves, you know, I cut all the flowers from the bushes because they were on little bushes, and I've taken off all the leaves. And normally I like to use a different leaf from what they come with, because if I don't like them, I like to replace them with a different greenery. But I'm going to go ahead and use these just so I can show you how you can prepare these. Now what you'll do is you take off the little plastic, as you just saw me doing, and then I'm going to cut them separately like that, just like so. Let me go ahead and move these out of the way so that I can do this on the table and you can see what I'm doing. I'm going to take a piece of stem that I've cut off from one of the flowers where it was too long, and I've got my greenery tape. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to apply a little bit of hot glue on the tip of this little stick, and then place it on the bottom part of my leaf, and just give it a little bit of a little squeeze there to make sure that the leaf is actually sticking to the stem. And then I'm going to take my greenery tape and wrap up as high as I can to cover up that glue. And of course the tape will then be glued onto there as well. Be careful, don't burn your fingers. You can wait till after and not worry about it gluing on, because the tape, as you pull it and twist it around, it does release the adhesive, and that's what is actually taping down. So when you're rolling this over, on your stem or wire, you want to make sure that it kind of overlaps where you've already put some tape. Okay, so that way it will be sticking onto something because it doesn't stick too well to the little plastic of the stem. So make sure that the tape is overlapping itself. You go all the way down and you can trim it off, or you could work your way up and actually add more tape. But I don't feel like I need to do that because I am then going to be now taping this to a flower. So I'll be using a lot of greenery tape, so I don't need that much bulk. So there we go. I've got 5 little leaves that I prepared on a stem for each of my roses, where I'm using 5 of them. I'm actually gonna make a nice big corsage for the wrist. You could actually just use 3. I'm gonna go ahead and use 5. Also, let me show you again real quick. On the stems, on this one, the carnation, I went ahead and I decided to leave these little leaves that it comes with. I decided to do that. I thought they were just fine. And then all I gotta do is just put my tape on there, squeeze it, stretch, and twist. And what I'm doing is I'm stretching with my left hand, like that, stretching it. And I'm twisting with my right, but I'm stretching and pulling with my left and also kind of pressing it down. You don't really see that because I'm doing it right on the edge of the stem. So you'll have to develop your own little way of doing this. You could be wrapping it up with your right hand if it's easier for you. Whichever way, just go ahead and try it and see which way is more comfortable for you. But that is just the way that tape works. You stretch it and roll it around and kind of press on it as you're going along, and that helps it stick. And there we go. I've got a nice wired, wrapped stem ready to go. These other little sprays that I had, these are like individually wrapped in white tape. And of course I'm going to be using green on my flowers, but I don't need to wrap them because they're already nicely wrapped to a certain point. And then I can just use greenery tape to wrap them onto my stems. So the last time that I created the corsage, I put the flowers together and then I added these little bits in there and the leaf afterwards, and of course then the bow. So again, if you haven't seen that, go ahead and watch the video from last Friday. But this is the way I'm going to do it now. Instead of putting all the flowers together, I'm going to prepare each flower individually. So I'm going to take a flower, like the carnation for example, and then I'm going to take my little filler flowers or little accents, whatever you want to call them. I'm going to put it against it because I do want these to kind of pop out a little bit higher than the carnation. And I'm going to create a little floral spray. So here we go. We're just going to tape it together and wrap it around till they're both nice and secured together. And that's it. So there I've created a little floral spray. Now I'm going to go ahead and add some of this to it. This is going to be for my Easter bouquet. And I've only got 3 flowers that I'm going to use. The bouquet did come with 6, but I'm going to go ahead and just use, I'm sorry, the bush did actually come with 6 flowers, or I think it was missing one, so it was actually 7. But I'm going to just use 3 of them because I have a little bunny that I want to add into it. So I'm going to go ahead and just put this little spray in there, put it against there. I just want to make sure that it's sticking out enough so that it's seen, okay? I don't want it to stick out too far out. So then I'm just going to wrap it all up and hide all that. There we go. And then I can just trim off any little pieces that are still sticking out, or you know, they're too long or whatever. Okay, there we go. So I prepared my stems, and my stem on this one is about, at the most, maybe 5 inches. I do up at the most 6 inches long, and I believe I kind of did that with my last video. This one, I think it's about 4 to 5 inches long right here. So just guesstimate. So this is my longer piece, and then my other ones are just slightly shorter, but I will be trimming them probably some more when I actually end up putting everything together. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and prepare all my flowers with these little tinier flowers, and then put a little pearl spray. I'm going to do the same to these yellow roses. To these yellow roses, I will be adding a leaf, and then I will also be adding a floral spray. I'm sorry, a pearl spray. So this will create a floral spray all together, just like this one, okay? So that's what I'm going to do. You go ahead and get those done, and then we'll get to the next step. All right, I've gone ahead and I prepared all my flowers and my little pearls, and created a little floral spray. So of course I've got 3 for my pink, for my Easter bouquet or corsage, and then I've got the yellow roses with the spray and the leaves that I've put together. So I've got 5 for that particular corsage. Now for each of these I will also need some ribbons, and I've decided that I want to put ribbon loops on each of my floral stems. So I'm going to continue the preparation of each of these little sprays before I put them all together and create a corsage. And I've chosen some pink ribbons. These are some small thin silk ribbon or satin ribbon that I've made into 4 loops, and then I've also wired and taped them as well, so I've prepared them. And then I've got a larger satin ribbon here. This is also 4 loops that I've also wired and prepared with some floral tape. And then I also had some sheer ribbon that I also created. This time I only did 2 loops, so 1 loop on each side, wired it, and put some floral tape. And so let me go ahead and show you. I'm going to do 5. I've got this sheer yellow ribbon, and I've already done 4. So I'm going to do 1 more for you, in case you have not seen how I do that in other videos when I do little bows. But I did do them in the other the video for my other corsage, so I'll just go ahead and repeat it real quick. So just pick a little tail, and then you're going to twist, make a loop, twist, make another loop, pinch, twist, loop. And I'm going to do, I think this one has 4 loops. See, the other one that I did over here, this sheer one, is only 2 loops, so I would have stopped right there and then just trimmed my ribbon right there. But this is 4, so I'm going to continue. And I did the same thing for the solid here, and also the same for this larger ribbon. Okay, so I've got 4 now, and I've actually run out of that yellow ribbon, so I think I did pretty good. And I'm going to take about anywhere from 6 to 8 inches of wire, and then just wrap around the bow, the loops, and just tighten it. And this is where I use my needle nose pliers. I use them to tighten this a little bit more, just to make sure that the loops aren't gonna, you know, slide out of the wire. Okay, so now I can go ahead and just trim it. And right here, I'm also going to trim the ribbon. A little bit left over, I don't need that. Okay, so now that I've got it all wired together, now I can go ahead and tape this. So I would do the same thing as I did to everything else. Take my tape, pull it, press it, and then get it twisting and on the way down to wrap up all that wire. And once I get to the end, just pull on it and just press that little tip, and there you go. I've got my little ribbon spray, and then that of course will then get added onto my flowers, and it can go on any side, underneath it, whatever you want. I'm going to kind of sort of put it on the side, take my floral tape again and wire that on. Okay, for the pink one, I'm going to do all these yellow ones all the same, by the way, so I'm going to finish those. And for the pink one, of course, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to take a solid, and you could wire each one down. It's sometimes a little bit easier to handle if you do one at a time, but if you want to save on your tape, then you can certainly put 2 of them. Now, you're not going to tape them real tight up on the very edge. You want to leave a little bit of, you know, maybe an inch or so of stem that's not taped, because that way you can kind of twist it around and bend it or whatever you have to do in order to position it where you want it. So these are going to go kind of high because the stems are not very long on them. And I'm going to tape them nice and securely. And I don't need to go all the way down this time, but if you wanted to, you could go ahead and do that. So there we go. And now I've got secured this pink ribbon and this sheer pink ribbon, which are now little loopy bows. And there we go. You can see the spray is getting to fill up really nicely. So I'm going to go ahead and also finish those up. And before I do, let me show you real quick how I'm going to make the large yellow bow for my yellow corsage. And I've got a little bit wider ribbon here. This is about a 1/2 inch wide or so, maybe 3/4. I'm not really sure. I'm not measuring it, but I'm just eyeballing it for now. So anyway, I've got a wider, and it's also a sheer, and I've gone ahead and I'm gonna pick a little tail end size here, and then just twist and loop. And these are gonna make kind of bigger loops, okay? Because this is gonna be my main bow. And again, this is for the wrist. It's gonna go right here, and I'm gonna make a really nice big corsage. So just twist and loop. You can bring the loops up together to make sure that they're the same length on each side, and then therefore that you can now measure the next ones according to these 2. Okay. And I'm just going to make as many loops as I can. I think I'm gonna make 6 loops. Let me go ahead and make 8 because I've got enough ribbon here. And there we go. All right. How much ribbon is this using up? I had about 2 yards of each of these ribbons that I just grabbed off my ribbon little wall that I have. Some of these, I used up all that was left on the spool, so I may have had a little bit more than a couple of yards, but most of them I cut about, 2 yards. So there's my multi-loop bow, and I'll poof it up once I'm ready to get it on my corsage. I'm not gonna worry about it right now. This is a wired edged ribbon, so it's awesome. The other ribbons that I have been using, like for the pink one, for example, and the other yellow sheer, they do not have wire on the edges. I love to use wire edged ribbon because you can shape it, but for a corsage, you don't have to. Okay, so there we go. Now I've got that bow ready. Let me go on to the next item that you need to prepare, and that's little bunny. And of course we have the little Easter eggs that I want to incorporate into my Easter corsage. So I need a way to be able to attach this bunny. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to remove this little tag here on the side. Just going to cut that off, and then it's got this little thing where it hangs. I'm going to go ahead and remove that as well. Now to attach my bunny to my corsage, I need some wire on him, so I'm going to take the same wire. Actually, I'm going to take the 22 gauge wire. It's a little bit thicker, a little bit stiffer, and it's gotten all kind of tangled up in here for me and giving me a hard time. So I'm going to try and undo this. So I'll be right back. So I'm back with all of my elements that I've got prepared here to create my little Easter corsage. I've also gone ahead and I've grabbed some more floral tape. There is one thing that you want to keep in mind when you're making bouquets or corsages, is that you always want to make sure you have enough floral tape. So make sure you start off with a brand new roll when you're going to do this, so that you know that you have enough, especially with a bouquet. Okay, so let's put together our corsage, and I'm going to take the one with the longest stem right here. And the nice thing about putting things not so closely together, or rather I didn't wrap these ribbons right here. I didn't wrap it right up against the stem. I left a little bit of length because that way I can maneuver them, and I can do the same with all the other elements that are on my little floral spray. This is what I'm calling a little floral spray. This alone can actually be a corsage. You can go ahead and pin this as a corsage on your top, or even make it like a boutonniere, because I mean it is kind of big for a boutonniere, but you know what, why not, right? And then you could just trim it, just cut it and have a straight stem, or bend it and curl it and make a little curly edge there. Now what you can do with these is you can also bend them forward a little bit, which is what I'm going to do to mine, because I don't want my flowers just sticking straight up. I want them to be looking forward. So this is the longer stem, and I've gone ahead and I've bent it just a little bit. I don't know if you can see that, where it's just kind of bent down a little bit. All right, so then I'm going to take my next one and I'm going to put it over. I usually start on my left side. It doesn't really matter. You can do it on your right or your left. And I just kind of meet up the stems at the bottom. Sometimes I might have to go a little bit lower, and then I'll just have to trim them, but I'm going by this longer one. Okay, so everything is going to be by the length of the longer one. Okay, so now I'm going to put them together, and again, I'm not going to tape them real tight together. I'm going to go down a little bit, and that's where I'm going to go ahead and tape them together. So just do that, and then you can just trim off from the one that you moved down a little bit, so that they're both at the same length, and you've got a nice flat little tip here that we can wrap up a little bit more, so that it's not no little edges or sharp edges. Like I can feel a little bit of wire here from this little spray here, this little pearl spray, and it's kind of pokey. So we're gonna go ahead and tape it up a little bit more to cover that. But before we continue, there's something that I want to tell you, is that sometimes these flowers can, with all this moving around, they can come off your stem. This just came off right off the stem right there. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little bit of glue in there, and then I'm just going to glue it down. So that's why you also want to have your hot glue gun handy, just in case something like that happens, so that it doesn't keep popping out. Now, if you want to go ahead and prepare them before you actually start doing this, especially if you're just doing you know, a small little arrangement in a corsage, you can go ahead and glue them all down, so then you don't have to worry about them popping up by accident. Okay, before I put the last my next flower in there, because that would be a corsage right there all on its own. It's also a nice little bouquet. If you think about it, if you leave like nice long stems, this could actually be a little nice hand bouquet for, you know, the maids of honor or flower girls, etc. I'm going to go ahead and put my little bunny in there before I insert this flower. So all I've gone ahead and is I've kind of bent him a little bit like that, bent the wire behind him, kind of at a little angle there, and then I'm just going to kind of lay him between these two flowers here, kind of push him in there, and then I'm just going to tape him in. All right, that's all I'm gonna do. Just wrap around and tape him in. And just cover up that stem so they don't move around, nice and secure. And don't worry about him flopping all over. We can either put a little bit of glue there and just kind of keep him in place, which I'll do that right now just so that you can see, just for the purpose of this video. I'm gonna put a little dot of glue on him, on his little head. And then I'm just gonna glue that little bit of petal just to kind of keep him from flopping around. I could do that on the other side with the other petal, but I think that'll be okay for now. Plus I'm gonna put another flower down here, and then I'm gonna put the bow, so that's gonna keep it all together. Now I'm gonna get one of these little eggs, and I kind of want it sticking up here somewhere. So that's where I'm gonna put it. Secure it by taping it down. And as you can see, oh, my little bunny came off because I didn't wait long enough for it to dry. Okay, let's put him back. Okay. Anyway, I don't even know what I was saying. So, okay, we've secured this little egg, and I've got another little egg, and I want to put it right next to him. So I'm going to go ahead and tape that down again. That little bunny's gonna flop around, so don't be scared of that if that happens. As you can see, I mean, I've been doing this for a long time, and these things still happen. And I think a lot of it is because, you know, you don't always tape a little bunny into something, and so it's kind of like a learn as you go kind of a thing. But I forgot that does happen, but it does. Anyway, don't worry about it. That'll happen to anybody. Okay, so now I can just kind of bend my flowers a little bit more, open them up a little bit more so they're not so, you know, crushed into each other, and they're a little more visible. So now I can go ahead and put another flower right at this position right here, and I'm also bending it before I put it on there, and then I'm just going to tape it again. Lots of tape. Lots and lots of tape is being used. That's why I don't, when I'm preparing these little individual stems, I only tape down once. I don't go down and then back up again, because that's a lot of layer, and the more you're putting, the thicker this is getting, and of course you're wasting more tape. And again, everything is going to get tied up together at the end, so it'll be secure. Okay, so there you can see how this corsage is getting nice and full, and it is getting really pretty. And now the only thing I need to add now is my big bow. So I'm also going to bend that. The stem, I'm also going to bend it like that so that I can put this part against what I've taped, and then tape that down. So here's my my floral stem, if you will, all the corsages up here. I'm going to tuck that underneath my little bunny, and then I'm going to tape it down. So that's what I'm going to do right in here. Just tuck him in, tuck this bow right under my bunny, as tight as I can, or as high as I can in there, under there. And again, tape that in. Okay, I'm laughing because, oh my gosh, my hands are starting to hurt. Your hands are going to hurt, by the way, doing all this work. Probably your shoulders too. I don't know. I haven't done this in a while, you know, made these type of corsages, so I've kind of, you know, lost my touch. So there you go. What do you think? Here's the back of the corsage. And there's little bunny, and I realize this is probably out of frame the whole time. That's why I don't like to go with these angles in my camera. I prefer where I have it in front of me and I can see what I'm doing. When I have it on the side, I can't really see. So here's the bunny, and there's where I've taped that ribbon just underneath there. And now I'm going to put a couple of corsage pins in there because they can pin it from one of these petals. They'll pin it from the stem here onto the top, but then you also add an extra one so that they can also pin like maybe a petal to keep it from flopping down. So add a couple of pins in there when you have a heavy corsage, or they can actually use the ribbon sometimes too, to like this little ribbon here for example, to pin onto a top. So you got it pinned from the bottom stem and also from something up here. So there you go. There's a little bunny, and I think he came out really cute. Look at that, it's so cute. So that's our little Easter corsage. I hope you enjoyed it. Let's go on to the next one because we do want to make this wrist corsage. We won't be needing our pins. I've already got 3 of these flowers put together. It was basically what you saw me doing, where I put the 2 flowers together, and of course I put the bunny, but in this case I went ahead and I did the flower just like I did in the previous video where I put 3 flowers together to make a corsage. Let me grab it so you can see it. This one right here. It was just 3 flowers made into a corsage. So this is what I'm doing. I'm grabbing these, but this time, because I am going to be putting them in this little, I don't know, wrist elastic bandy thing. Let me make sure I'm in the screen here, in frame. This time because I'm putting them on here. Now I have a chubby wrist, so okay, this would actually fit really well on a young lady or someone else that's not so chunky like me. Okay, but this doesn't hurt me actually. It's nice and well and secure on my wrist. It is not binding me at all whatsoever. So I feel like this is the most comfortable thing, a wrist corsage for the girls to wear to the proms. Because, you know, they can dance around, they can have the wrist corsage on, or they can just easily take it off and not have to deal with any pins. Now, if you don't want to deal with corsage pins, you could try safety pins, and that'll be a way for them not to poke themselves. But I love this. Oh, not only that, but you know, when they're dancing, they're kind of close together, and a lot of times you don't want the corsages to get crushed, especially if you're working with fresh flowers. Now, to create a fresh flower bouquet, it is basically treat it the same way that you're doing this. There is an extra step. I leave a comment down below if you'd like to see that. Of course, that'll take a while before I actually get to it. But anyway, this is our corsage for our wrist. So I put all these little elements together. I've got these 2 other little flowers, and then I've got my big bow. And what I want to do is all these things get placed on here. And then these little prongs on each side here. There's 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 2 on each side. These get bent over and wrapped around the stem, okay? So I like to bend them forward, and then all you have to do is just bend them down, and that's actually holding on to the corsage already, okay? But what I like to do, let me remove this, is I like to go a little bit higher and make sure that I grab this one stem that's a little bit higher, and then this middle part right here, because that way I can make sure that it's well balanced, because I've got 3 flowers on this side and I'm only going to have 2 on the other side. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to take this, let's see, I'm going to put some hot glue on it. There is another way to doing this, but this is the way that I like to do it to make sure that everything is on there. Let's get that out of the way. It's poking me. Okay, right here, put that heaviest part right in the middle, or the thickest part right in the middle. Let's make sure these little ribbons don't get caught in the glue there. Okay, so now these little prongs right here, these are going to wrap up around this one stem. Now make sure, now remember, there's glue in there, there's hot glue. So go ahead and get your needle nose pliers and press these little prongs flat down. Okay, so you want to wrap that one. And now you're saying, well, wait a minute, what about these other flowers? They're not getting wrapped up. I'm going to actually go ahead and hot glue them in place. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is I want to make sure that this elastic for the wrist is attached to my corsage. Once it's attached, and there you can see, let's see, am I in camera? There we go. There you can see where it is actually wrapped around there, and over here it is also wrapped around, okay, right here. Just make sure that it is secure on there. Put it on your wrist and make sure that it doesn't flop around, and it doesn't. It stays in place, so I know it's secure. So now this stem right here that goes beyond this little metal part, I can go ahead and trim that off. I don't need it anymore because I'm not wrapping any more flowers onto it. I can go ahead and trim that off. There we go. And now I can take these and glue them into place right in there, and then I can take my main bow and right in the middle and tape that right, or not tape it, but glue it right in there. So let's go ahead and do that. Oops. So now I don't need this a long stem either. I'm gonna cut this down to about 1 inch to 1.5 inches. I'm gonna bend it just ever so slightly. Make sure my little sprays are going off to the sides. I don't know if you can see this. Let me make sure, right here. Okay. Make sure the elastic is out of the way, any ribbon out of the way. Okay, we're gonna glue it right on top of there. This part right here, the back of it. We're gonna put some glue on that. And what you're gonna do is you're gonna kind of like tuck it in, kind of at an angle. Push down, make sure it's gluing itself. When you have loose petals like that, like especially from these Dollar Tree flowers, are not as the quality is not as good. You can put a little bit of glue. I got a lot of glue that went in there, by the way. Put in a little bit of glue and then just press it down so these flowers are not so far open and these petals aren't flopping around. A little dot. Push it down. See how it's really wide open? If you don't want that, little dot of glue right there. Press that down. Another dot of glue over here. Press that down, which is what I'm going to do right now. I'm just going to do that off the frame. I put a dot of glue in there. Press that down. Now I'm going to put a dot of glue. Whoops. Well, in there, and press this down. And get all these little webs of... Okay, so now I want to make sure that this little bow and this little spray, they're all on one side. Let's put it this way. They're all on one side so they don't get trapped right in the middle here. And then I'm going to trim this one, and I'm going to do the same thing and hot glue it right in there at this other angle. And you can see there's a little bit of an opening and everything's getting glued in there, all crisscrossed in there. You see that? Okay. Hot glue it in there. Yeah, there we go. Now you've got that little opening there. I'm gonna push him in a little bit more. I don't want that opening to be so bare. So now I'm gonna take my bow, which is on this little stem, and I'm gonna curl my stem, my wire stem that I've wrapped. I'm gonna curl it like that and make it nice and flat like that. And then I'm going to put lots of glue on there and then glue that right in there. And as you can see, I haven't shaped that bow yet. So I put lots of glue right there, and that's going to get pushed right in there. Get it pushed right in there. And I'm going to leave it for a little bit and let it dry. Okay, and then we're going to come back and shape that bow so that it looks pretty, and our bow, our corsage will be done. All right, so our ribbon and our other flower that we've put onto our corsage have dried. They're not quite dry, but they're dry enough. So now I'm just gonna maneuver my little loops and open them up so that I know where they're at. And then now all I've got to do is just poof them up like so. And you can see how that's looking really pretty. There's the bow all poofed up. If you feel like, oh, okay, these are coming out too much, you can pinch them in a little bit, like so, almost like into little heart shapes, and just push them in. Now just imagine this done in, you know, the color of the dress of the young lady, whether she's wearing You know, she's probably not going to be wearing yellow to her prom, but who knows? She might like yellow. I don't see a lot of girls wearing yellow. It's a really pretty color. I think this is more for probably a cotillion or something else. Yes, anyway, you can imagine this in maybe some purples. The girls like to wear a lot of black and silver, so maybe use some black flowers, maybe some silver accents in there. So just imagine it in the different colors. And as you can see, this is also very springy, very much for Mother's Day as well, because I think Mom wouldn't mind, you know, wearing a wrist corsage instead of actually pinning something onto her nice dress. So anyway, this flower that's up here, my point here, is actually going upward onto my arm or my wrist, up into my forearm, and I don't want flowers really coming down onto my hand down here. I want to make sure that the flowers, the bigger part, the longer part, is going up onto the what is this, the forearm? Yeah, there you go. As you can see, it's nice, and it's so easy for a young man, if you're making this for your son, or you're making it for a young man to give to his little girlfriend or his mate, schoolmate, for the prom, or sister, or whatever it happens to be that he's taking to the prom. It'll be easy for him to put on her, because all he has to do is just spread it open a little bit, have her slide her hand right in there, and it's on her wrist. Just tell him, this is the top part, so make sure you slide that in like that, and it's super easy. There you go. And I've made a beautiful wrist corsage, which can be for any occasion. And then over here, I've created an Easter corsage, which you could obviously, this would be great for a baby shower. Leave off the little eggs and instead maybe put some little rattles or some little baby, you know, like little bottles or pacifiers. You know, you'll find all those things in the baby shower section of your store. That's what you can do instead of the little eggs, but you can use a little bunny, or you can use a little bear. And as you can see, look at that. Or maybe even a small little baby plastic, you know, plastic baby bottle is what I wanted to say. Or a little baby. There you go. So there you go. You've got some ideas. You can turn this into something for a birthday. It doesn't have to be Easter. Be creative. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. And thank you again to Jill and to Annette and to Barb for the suggestions. I know you weren't saying do a video now. I need it now. No, you did not. But I wanted to do it now because I saw that the time is going by and you do need ideas. And some of you have got proms already. Some of you are needing to get ready for Easter because, gosh, Easter is coming right upon us. And to also celebrate Easter, I will be doing my my wall floral decor for next Tuesday. And my first wall decor will be something for Easter because we still have a little bit of time to do something special for Easter. And I think Easter is going to be on April the 1st. I'm not really sure about that. I think that's what my husband was saying. It's going to be on April Fool's Day. Well, what do you know? Okay. So let me know what you think. Give me a big old thumbs up. I'm going to give myself a big old thumbs up. Is my thumb in frame? Yes, it is. Okay, and leave a nice comment down below. Like I said, leave a suggestion if you want to see something. It might not appear right away. It might not appear till a month or so later, but at least you're giving me an idea, and I am reading your comments, okay? So I'm just giving little hearts as much as I can to every one of you. If I missed you, it's just because I just didn't see it. It's not because I ignored it or I didn't like your comment. I love all of you. You're all leaving such beautiful comments. Thank you very much. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't already subscribed, and make sure that you share in your social medias. And as always, enjoy.